Cowboy wagon off the BQE. Said this'll be the last you ever see of me. Well, the cowboy laughed, said no, it's not true, 'cause there's nothing I can do to get it loose from you. Made a little money playing in the bars, but you beat up drums and you old guitar. From the Crescent City to the Great Salt Lake, it ain't what you got, it's what you make. When the road got rough and the wheels all broke, couldn't take more than we could tow. Making something out of nothing with a scratch and a hole. Two old guitars like a shovel and a rope. Rock of ages cleave for me. Let me hide myself in thee. Now I understand on better terms since Birmingham.
Think about it. There must be a higher love down in the heart or hidden in the stars above. Without it, life is a wasted time. Look inside your heart and I look inside mine. Things look so bad everywhere. In this whole world, what is fair? We walk the line and try to see, falling behind what could be. Oh, bring me a higher love. Bring me a higher love. Oh, bring me a higher love. Where's that higher love? I keep thinking of. Bring higher love. Bring higher love. Bring higher Worlds are turning, and we're just hanging on, facing our fear and standing out there alone. I yearning, yeah, and it's real to me. There must be someone who's feeling for me. Things look so bad everywhere. In this whole world, what is fair? We walk the line and try to see, falling behind, and what could be. Oh, bring me a higher love, my Lord. Bring me a higher love. Oh, bring me a higher love, my Lord. It's that higher love I keep thinking of. Bring higher love.
Can't fight the feeling. Can't fight the feeling. We got a sure thing together. Let's work it out. Don't listen to everybody, baby. Listen to your heart. I ain't got nothing but love for you, baby. And I had it from the start. Take a chance on me, baby. I want to give it all to you. If I want you and you want me, baby, tell me what we got to lose. If I want you and you want me, tell me what we got. Don't fight the feeling, baby. Don't fight the feeling now. We got a sure thing together. Let's work it out. It's a trouble world that we're living in today, baby. We can't let nothing in this world stand in our way. Take a chance on me, baby. Take a chance on me. If I want you and you want me, baby, tell me what we got to lose. If I want you and you want me, tell me, baby, what we got to lose. Take a chance on me, baby. Take a chance on me. I want you, baby. I gotta have you, baby. Have mercy on me. Ooh. Oh.
Well, I wear my clothes like this because I can. And I wear my hair like this because I can. And I walk around like this because I can. And I do my thing like this because it's who I am. And if you expect me to give you an apology for being nothing that you're used to, go right ahead and wait. Hold your breath and concentrate. Keep holding to your base. Turn blue. My road ain't your road, but just I know just where I'm going. My flow ain't your flow, but just I know just how I'm going. I'ma do my thing. Please feel free to hate and complain. I'ma do my thing. Say what you want, but this one ain't gonna change. I'ma do my thing. I can't wear my clothes like you because I'm not. I can't do my hair like you because I'm not. I can't walk around like you because I'm not. I can't do my thing like you, well it just ain't hot. And if you're expecting me to give you an apology, being nothing like it used to, but go right on and head away. Hold your breath and concentrate. Keep holding till your face turns blue. See my road, it ain't your road, but trust I know just where I'm going. In my flow, it ain't your flow, but trust I know just how I'm going. I'ma do my thing. So please feel free to hate and complain. I'ma do my thing. And say what you like, cause this one ain't gonna change. I'ma do my thing. You don't know where I'm going, and so you think I'm lost. I ain't on your page, okay? So to you that means I'm off. When I dance to the beat of a drum and you don't hit and you can't see. So if I look upbeat to you, well, the problem must be you, not me. Irregular, never irrelevant, unusual but never uncool. You're not cut from my cloth, you don't get me, well I don't get you. Either a believer of the fact that unique equals love. So if I'm going too fast for you, open
Hello, hello. I'm Viviana Janer, and I'm chairwoman of the Osceola Board of County Commissioners, and I'm so excited to welcome you here to Kissimmee in Osceola County. So, as we prepare to welcome the Vice President right here to Osceola County, I couldn't pick a better and more perfect day because we're in the kickoff and it's the first day of Hispanic Heritage Month. And here in Osceola County, we have an overwhelmingly Hispanic population with 55% of our population being of Hispanic origin, with a great majority of them being Puerto Rican. So we're a working class community, and we had so many people relocate from Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria looking for opportunity. Unfortunately, right now, we're stuck with an inadequate and inept response to both Hurricane Maria and our COVID-19 pandemic. So I don't know about you, but I'm so looking forward to a president that not only has a plan for Puerto Ricans, for Hispanics, but also will bring that level of respect and caring to the White House that we need. Muy buenas tardes. Soy Viviana Janel. Soy presidenta de la Junta de Comisionados del Condado de Osceola. Aquí estoy muy emocionada de recibir el vicepresidente Biden en este día, que es el primer día del mes de la herencia hispana. Aquí en el condado de Osceola tenemos una población de 55% hispanos, con la gran mayoría de nuestros residentes de origen puertorriqueño. Muchas familias se mudaron aquí a Osceola y a Kissimmee después del huracán María, buscando oportunidades. Y desafortunadamente lo que tenemos aquí es un presidente inepto que no ha podido responder adecuadamente ni al huracán María ni a la pandemia del COVID-19. No sé de ustedes, pero estoy muy emocionada de pensar tener un presidente ahora que no solamente tiene un plan para mis compatriotas boricuas, pero para todos los hispanos a través de los Estados Unidos, que no solamente nos trae respeto, pero también alguien que va a querer ayudarnos en la Casa Blanca. So with that said, it gives me great pleasure as the first Hispanic woman to serve on the Osceola Board of Commissioners and the only Puerto Rican woman to serve there in the history of Osceola County, to introduce to you the first Boricua member of Congress from the state of Florida, the Honorable Congressman Darren Soto.
Gracias, Viviana, comisionera. Buenas noches y bienvenidos a mi familia hispano. Feliz mes de la herencia hispana. Welcome to our Hispanic Heritage Month celebration with Vice President Joe Biden. What an amazing way to kick off this celebration of our heritage here in Central Florida with the Vice President. En este momento, la vota hispana es critical en la elección presidencial. The Hispanic vote is critical. We must elect Joe Biden to the President of the United States to solve the pandemic, to restore our economy, and to build back better. Mi familia hispana, para resolver la pandemia, para recuperación de la economía, la decisión es clara. Y para pasar al plan nuevo de Joe Biden para Puerto Rico y para la autodeterminación del estatus, la decisión es clara. Y para construir de nuevo mejor, la decisión es clara. Boricuas, cubanos, mexicanos, venezolanos, colombianos, centroamericanos y sudamericanos. Este es el momento para dignidad y respeto para nuestra comunidad hispana. Todos necesitan ser con Biden. Votan para Biden, salvar América. Vote for Biden to save America. Gracias a todo.
I used to be a rolling stone, you know. If the cause is right, I'd leave to find an answer on the road. I used to be a heart beating for someone, but the times have changed. The less I say, the more my work gets done. 'Cause I live and breathe this Philadelphia freedom. From the day that I was born, I waved the flag. Philadelphia freedom took me knee-high to a man. Yeah, give me a piece of mind my daddy never had. For Philadelphia freedom, shine on me. I love it, shine a light through the eyes of the one left behind. Shine a light, shine the light, shine the light, won't you shine the light? Philadelphia freedom, I love, yes I do. If you choose to, you can live your life alone. Some people choose the city, some others choose the good old family home. I like living easy without family tight. Till the whippoorwill of freedom stab me right between the eyes. 'Cause I live and breathe this Philadelphia freedom. From the day that I was born, I waved the flag. Philadelphia freedom took me knee-high to a man. Give me a piece of mind my daddy never had. For You know I love you.
Please welcome Eva Longoria and Ricky Martin.
Hello.
Muy buenas tardes. Hello, everyone. Bienvenidos. If you know me, you know I wish we could all be together celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month together, but that's not the world we live in today. Because for 8 months, the President of the United States has refused to implement a plan to bring this pandemic to an end. A pandemic that has killed more than 194,000 fellow Americans, including thousands of Latinos and Latina brothers and sisters. His incompetence and cruelty has come as a surprise for many Americans, but not for our community. We knew who he was from the beginning. After Hurricane Maria, we saw how he tossed paper towels for a photo op while asking the cabinet if he could sell Puerto Rico. We witnessed his cruelty when he launched his campaign by calling immigrants rapists and criminals. As a president, he deployed ICE to implement barbaric policies. We also witnessed his shamelessness when, after the Pulse nightclub shooting here in Florida, instead of comforting victims, he tweeted, "Appreciate the congrats." I am not kidding. This is what he said. Appreciate the congrats. But we have good news. Not only do we have the chance to defeat Donald Trump this November, we have a chance to elect a president who will rebuild America. A president we will be proud to call our commander-in-chief. That's because Joe Biden is a man of character. He believes his family and mine are more similar than different. He believes everyone has a place in this country, no matter where you were born, what you look like, or who you love. Joe Biden is a president who is ready to protect all Puerto Ricans. It doesn't matter if you live in Pennsylvania. It doesn't matter if you live in Florida. It doesn't matter if you live in the island. He's ready to work for us. A president who will respect the dignity of the Puerto Rican people. A president who has a plan to provide relief from unsustainable debt that is holding our economy back. Who will listen to us whether we're protesting outside of La Fortaleza or we're demanding action from the White House. That is exactly who Joe Biden is. With him as a president, we will always have a chair at the table. But before that happens, we have to make sure he wins. I'm going to ask you, almost beg you to please. You have to go to voyavotar.com or iwillvote.com and register now. We have to do this for our children. We have to do this for the children of our children. You know, guys, I like to have fun. But this is really serious. These are the most important elections. These are the most important elections we've seen in this history of this country, and Puerto Ricans have the power to decide it. Us, Puerto Ricans, we have the power to decide, and we will use that power in November. We have to make sure Joe Biden goes to the White House. I beg you, please, go to voyavotar.com or iwillvote.com and make a plan. Make a plan of what you're going to do that day. How are you going to get to the voting polls? But we have to do this. We have to change the course this country's going to. Thank you.
Hello, Florida. Today kicks off the first day of Hispanic Heritage Month. which is a way to celebrate Latino culture and to recognize our heritage, that no matter where you come from, our culture and heritage is engraved in America. Yet our community is reminded that we are different, whether it's the accent on our last name or the accent in our voice, whether it's the color of our skin. There are many in this country that believe we don't belong. And as Ricky said, President's assault on Latino dignity started on day one of his campaign, when he called us drug dealers and rapists. And he has spent the last 4 years doubling down on demonizing Latinos. At the border, he has ripped kids from the arms of their parents and has locked them in cages. I want mothers everywhere to hear that. Imagine your child being separated from you and put in a cage 3 feet away from you where you cannot hold or console him. He's tried to deport dreamers, even the ones who serve in uniform to protect the United States of America. Our soldiers are being deported. He abandoned Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria left the island in complete devastation. He even thought maybe we could swap Puerto Rico for Greenland, because in his words, Puerto Rico was dirty and the people were poor. He's completely failed to respond to COVID-19, a virus that has disproportionately affected the Latino community's health and economic security. Latinos are only 18% of the population, but we make up over 34% of essential frontline workers. 34%. That's your nurses, those are your healthcare workers, your drivers, your delivery people, your farm workers who are putting food on your table. Farm workers have always been essential. We didn't need a pandemic to tell us that. Trump's strategy is to cast out Latinos as being less than fully American. Well, let me tell you how American we are. This year, for the first time in history, Hispanics will be the largest minority group of potential voters in the United States. Latino voters will decide the 2020 election. That's a simple fact. In Florida, where we are today, Hispanics are even a bigger part of the population, 25% compared to 18% nationally. And I want to be clear, increasing Hispanic participation in elections doesn't help Democrats or Republicans. It helps America. The media narratives try to reduce Hispanics to single issue voters. Immigration, immigration, immigration. But guess what? Our community cares about a whole lot more. Biden offers a very strong platform and record on the economy, on healthcare, and education. Under the Obama-Biden administration, Latino unemployment rates declined more than 7% the previous administration. Joe Biden believes to his core that there's no greater economic engine in the world than the hard work and ingenuity of the American people. Nobody has more respect for the working men and women who get up every day to build and sustain this country. And Joe Biden knows that many of those hardworking people are Latinos. Trump administration endorses economic policies that reward wealth over work and corporations over working families. We are battling for the soul of the nation. Biden has a plan to create millions of good-paying jobs and give America's working families economic mobility for themselves and for their children. We are battling for the soul of this nation. Mexico isn't sending drug dealers and rapists. They just sent firefighters to help us fight the California wildfires. They're trying to save American lives. Puerto Ricans are American. Puerto Rico isn't a foreign country. They're American citizens. We should be lifting them up. It's more than just coming around every 4 years, knocking on our door and saying, hey, your vote matters. It's about showing us Latinos our lives matter. Our livelihoods matter. So I don't know about you, but after all the attacks and the insults, I don't just want Donald Trump out of office, but I want the Latino community to be the decisive group that votes him out of office. I want to show our pride and our strength and our power as a community. That's why I'm asking you to do everything you can to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. He's a family man, a man of faith, Throughout his career, he has stood with the Latino community and has shown that he values us for the diverse and countless ways we make this country great already. We need Joe Biden in the White House, and he needs our help to get there. There's no question that Latino voters can determine the outcome of this election, and that starts right here in Florida. So we have the numbers. It's up to us to make sure those numbers add up to his victory this November.
The cup of life, this is the one. Now is the time, don't ever stop. Push it along, gotta be strong. Push it along, right to the top. People are beautiful people, but there's only one kind. So hush not, child, and don't cry. Your folks might understand you by and by.
Please welcome Luis Fonsi.
Ay. Fonsi! DY! Oh, oh no, oh no. Oh. Hey, go. Sí, sabes que ya llevo.
Hello, everyone. Whether you're here in Kissimmee or watching our live stream, I'm so grateful you've chosen to spend some time with us today. I'm so excited to have the chance, to talk to you about what's at stake in this election for the two places that made me the man I am today, my beautiful Puerto Rico and Florida. I was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico, which is where I fell in love with music. But during my early teenage years, my family and I moved to Orlando, Florida. I actually graduated not too far from here, Dr. Phillips High School. In so many ways, my story is the American story. When I arrived in Florida, I could barely speak English. By the time I left, I knew what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And the fact that I realized that dream proves that in this country, anything is possible. So despite everything we are facing, I still have hope. But I would be lying if I didn't recognize that this is one of the most difficult periods in this country's history. And I'm not only talking about the pandemic and the economic crisis that comes along with that. I'm talking about unity. I'm talking about inclusion. I'm talking about acceptance. All of the values we used to cherish most are being abandoned by those in power. But during this period of so much hardship, I've also seen firsthand the best of this country, even with a president in the White House trying to divide us. One song, en español, broke all the barriers across cultures, languages, and ages. Despacito proved to me that in this country, we will never be defined by our differences. And no matter who is president, Latinos and Latinas will always have a place here. But how much better would it be to have a president who celebrates our community instead of denigrating it? That's Joe Biden. He has spent Hispanic Heritage Month recognizing all of the contributions Latinos and Latinas have made to our nation. He knows we are not a monolith. We are public servants, military leaders, lawyers, doctors, nurses, teachers, artists, essential workers, and groundbreakers who make this country great. And Joe has made it clear that whether you're first generation or your family has been here 4 generations, you belong in the United States as much as anyone else. And as Ricky said, Joe will always be there for Puerto Rico. He will never abandon us in our time of need. And working hand in hand with Puerto Rico's leaders, he will invest in building and a more prosperous future for the place I will always call home. A future that will make life better for Puerto Ricanos, whether you live on the island or on the mainland. But while I'm confident Joe will have our backs as president, I also know he needs us. And that means making our voices heard at the ballot box. So if you weren't convinced by Eva and Ricky, maybe you will be convinced by me. Go to iwillvote.com, voyabotar.com. Seriously, do it now. Register to vote and make a plan for when and where you're going to do it. And text todos to 30330 to find out more ways to get involved in this campaign. Nothing less than the future of our country is on the ballot in November, and we cannot let nuestras familias down. Es con gran orgullo presentarles el vicepresidente. I'm honored to present Vice President and the future President of the United States, Joe Biden.
I just have one thing to say. Hang on here.
All right. There you go. Dance a little bit, Joe. Come on.
I'll tell you, my man. I tell you what, if I had the talent of any one of these people, I'd be elected president by acclamation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And hello and happy Hispanic Heritage Month. It's great to be back in Florida and to be here to celebrate what is best in our democracy, our diversity, our culture that is shaped by people from every part of the world, especially the rich Hispanic heritage that enlivens so much of our national story. We hear it in the rhythms that pour into our hearts and move our feet. The artists like Luis and Ricky, and thank you both. Thank you both for being here, but more than being here, but thank you for actually jumping in and trying to help me win this election. It is where I come from. They call that a big deal. It really is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We see it represented in our television and our movie screens with actresses like Eva Longoria. Thank you, Eva, for both joining us tonight, for the outstanding work you did in hosting the first night of the Democratic Convention. You have changed political conventions forever. I don't think we'll ever see one like the old-fashioned conventions. You did an incredible job. You've become a great friend. And thank you, thank you, thank you for sticking with me. And we recognize in the halls of power in our Congress and our leaders, like my friend Representative Darren Soto, who I had the pleasure of speaking with a few minutes ago. I thanked him for the passport into his district. I appreciate it. Congressman, thank you for all you do for the people in this district. And it's in the science, it's working in labs across the country on vaccines to fight this virus, and the doctors and the nurses in the front lines working around the clock to care for people's health. It's in the diplomats who proudly represent the United States of America and our values in countries all over the world, and in our military members and the families who love this country so much, they're willing to sacrifice everything for it. It's in the engineers who are working to develop new technologies that are going to help us grasp our clean energy future, and in the skilled union craftsmen who are going to build it. Hispanic Heritage Month is an important reminder of just how much strength we draw as a nation from our immigrant roots and our values as a nation of immigrants. Unless you are a Native American or your ancestors were enslaved and brought here by force beginning 400 years ago, we've all come from somewhere else. And for most of us, that journey began with a choice to try for something better here in the United States, whether it was my ancestors who boarded coffin ships in the Irish Sea in the famine in the 1840s, or families who fled oppressive regimes and natural disasters in Latin America and the Caribbean, or any of the waves of immigrants seeking freedom and opportunity, who have continually renewed our strength and have given us the important capacity to all of us to speak with grit and determination, to simply say, I can do it. I can do it. All of our ancestors, yours and mine, they came equipped with only one thing. The only thing they had in their pocket was hope. And in so many ways, that's part of what makes us Americans. And for people with Hispanic ancestries, those contributions date all the way back before our founding. There's no separating out Hispanic heritage from American heritage. These stories are one and the same, and growing more vibrantly entwined every single day. Today, it is no exaggeration to say that the future of the success of this country depends on Hispanics having opportunities and the tools they need to succeed. You know, I know my team here knows, my new team, that 24 out of every 100 kids in school today speak Spanish. The idea we are not going to encourage and build and invest in is just mind-blowingly stupid. Folks, in the midst of this god-awful pandemic, we've seen even more clearly than ever how much we rely on people with Hispanic roots to keep our country running. And again, that's not an exaggeration. So many of our frontline workers are Hispanic. The people stocking the grocery shelves, driving the delivery trucks, working in the meatpacking plants, staffing our nursing homes, our hospitals. These include 200,000 dreamers working in those key roles, many of whom are of Hispanic heritage. And we depend on them. There are a lot of people who are recognized for the first time by what they truly are, essential. What we do, we don't just need to thank them. We need to pay them, and treat them with dignity. My dad used to say, Joey, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about your place in the community. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay. And to make sure we're giving Hispanic Americans the support and respect they deserve and need at all times, we have to change our attitudes. How can we have a strong and thriving republic if we aren't doing more to fully deal in Hispanic communities? And all those communities have for too long been left out and left behind to every aspect of American life. The answer is real simple. We won't be able to. That's why I've laid out extensive plans that demonstrate how we're going to use every tool at our disposal to take on the inequities that hurt Hispanic communities by, number one, investing in economic mobility, improving our educational system, rooting out race-based disparities in our healthcare, and building on Obamacare, taking on the gun violence that plagues our communities, and finally, building an immigration system that treats people with dignity and is true to American values. Today, I've released my agenda for Puerto Rico. Even after being president for nearly 4 years, Donald Trump doesn't seem to grasp that the people of Puerto Rico are American citizens already. I mean, think about it. And they deserve to have the leadership in government that understands that in America, there is no room for the idea of second-class citizens, period. We're all equal, all deserving. I'm running to be president of all America, including 3 million American citizens living in Puerto Rico. I'm not going to steal the money that desperately needed to reconstruct the island in order to build a wall along the border that does nothing to keep Americans safe. I'm not going to suggest that we sell or trade, as was mentioned earlier, Puerto Rico. I'm not going to throw paper towels at people whose lives have just been devastated by a hurricane. The world saw that. Not just the United States, the world saw that. It was mortifying. I'm not going to deny the science of climate change that tells us hurricanes are devastating weather events that will only grow more frequent and more intense unless we take action. And I'm certainly not going to say what the president allegedly said to the Department of Homeland Security and the national security officials when they allegedly said, I got it. I got it. The way to keep these hurricanes from coming on board is nuke them. Whoa, nuke them. I mean, you know, I'm going to lead. I'm going to respect and support the island's renewal and fully recovery, including investing in infrastructure, reconstruction to modernize standards, promote economic development initiatives to support for families, provide relief for the unsustainable debt that exists on the island, and expand access to education and workforce development. I'm going to work with representatives who support each of the status options in Puerto Rico on a fair and binding process to determine their own status. I happen to believe statehood would be the most effective means of ensuring that residents of Puerto Rico are treated equally, with equal representation at a federal level. But the people of Puerto Rico must decide, and the United States federal government must respect and act on that decision. You know, and this much is certain. A Biden-Harris administration will always have the back of every single American when they get knocked down. I've been knocked down, and many of you have too. I know what it's like. But my dad would say, every time you get knocked down, just get up, Joey. Get up. We're going to get up. We're going to honor the incredible contributions and service of Puerto Ricans. People from all across the Hispanic diaspora to this country. Not only the names we know and like Lin-Manuel Miranda, who was helping me out, but remember the stories that don't always make the headlines. Like Puerto Rico's 65th Infantry Regiment, who General MacArthur described as, quote, writing a brilliant record of heroism in battle during the Korean War. How much did y'all hear about that? We'll work to build on Obamacare and expand its protections so the more Hispanic people have access to high quality, affordable health care that they deserve. Under the Obama-Biden administration, 4 million Hispanic Americans gained coverage, the largest gain of coverage of any group. President Trump is still trying to rip Obamacare away from people in the middle of the worst pandemic in a century. That's on top of the total failure to manage COVID-19, which has now stolen the lives of almost 200,000 people in America, with disproportionately large share of those deaths among Hispanic communities, over 25,000 deaths. And that's on top of the failure to adequately work to address the economic impacts of this pandemic, which again have fallen more heavily on Hispanic pocketbooks. More than 25% of Hispanics here in Florida have reported being worried about how they're going to pay their rent or their mortgage. A study found that 1 in 3 Hispanic small business owners have taken a hit during this pandemic, with many more likely to close and close permanently. That's on top of his failure and, in fact, the complete disinterest in addressing the racial injustice crisis in America. He does exactly the opposite. He fans the flames of hatred and division in our country for his own gain. That's on top of his failure to recognize the existential threat of climate crisis. Yesterday in California, he said, sitting with a group of scientists, I don't think science knows whether or not climate change is real. That's what he said. At a time when wildfires are racing across the West, destroying homes and communities, and another hurricane threatens our coast. Mr. President, science knows. Science knows. They do know. Look, Donald Trump has failed the Hispanic community time and time again, and that's not a secret. Whether it's in his heinous act of separating children from their families at our border, or his repeated attacks on Dreamers, or his neglect of the people of Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, or his repeated failure to make sure essential workers have the personal protective equipment they need. Donald Trump has done nothing but assault the dignity of Hispanic families over and over and over and over again. It's wrong. That's not who we are. We have to do so much more than just defeat Donald Trump. We have to seize this opportunity to build back better for all of our communities. Because at the end of the day, all the American people are looking for is a shot My dad would say the American people, just given half a chance, have never, ever, 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 ever let the country down. Chance to work hard and get ahead. But you can't do it when your community is always the first and hardest hit and the last to get help instead of needed when they need to dig out. I truly believe we have a tremendous opportunity to turn this moment of crisis into a moment of progress on healthcare, wages, housing, education, and so much more. We can reach for more as a nation. We can rebuild the backbone of this country and finally bring everybody along. We can build a new administration that reflects the full diversity of our nation, including Hispanic communities. Hispanic voters, especially right here in Florida, can help put our nation on a path moving forward. There are now 49 days left to Election Day. I'm asking for your vote. I'm going to work very hard every single day to get it. I used to, when I first ran as a kid, I'd knock on the door and say, my name is Joe Biden. I'm running for the United States Senate. Look me over. If you like what I see and believe what I say, help me out. If not, vote for the other guy. Well, I'm here in Florida to say, look me over again. Here in Florida and all across the country, I hope that each and every one of you gets involved in this election. Sounds like hyperbole, exaggeration, but our democracy depends on every voice being heard and every vote being counted. So please, this election, make your vote heard. Through your vote, your voice is heard. Make a plan to vote, as has been pointed out. Make a plan to help your community vote. You know, I grew up in a heavily Irish Catholic community in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and a heavily Italian Polish community in Claremont, Delaware. These are communities built on two things: faith and family. They've been the core of my entire life. That's what I come back to again and again, whether it's losing my wife and daughter in an accident or my son dying from glioblastoma. It's been the source of my strength in times of struggle and my comfort in times of grief: faith and family. It seems to me that's the same strength that's always animated the Hispanic community: faith and family. That's the heritage we're celebrating this month. And it's profoundly American as well. It's not only our past, it's our future as well. And more than any other time, the Hispanic community, Latino community holds in their palm of their hand, the destiny of this country. You may not want to hear it, but it's true. It's true. You can decide the direction of this country. I've said many times when I decided to run, I said, one of the reasons why I'm running is restore the soul of America. It's a basic proposition. We're so much better than we are acting now. The rest of the world is looking at us like, what has happened to America? America's always led not just by the example of our power, but the power of our example. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. And it goes on. We've never met that test. We've never walked away from it before. We got to keep bending that arc. We got to keep getting more inclusive, because therein lies the power and the majesty of the United States of America. I want to thank you all, particularly thank the people who came here and introduced me today. And may God protect our troops. God bless you all. Thank you.
People, remember y'all, got to make the world go round, got to make the world now. You need all right, yeah. Got to make the world go round, got to make the world now. Yeah. We the people, come on, y'all. Got to make the world go round, got to make the world now. We the people, well, got to make the world go round. Got to make the world now. See the people, baby, with your way. Ain't nobody get away. It's a great way back to where you see. We the people, we got to do it now. Got to make the world go round. Got to